What's up, guys? This is AJ Leon at ajleon.me. We're here at the headquarters of Box.net meeting with Aaron, the co-founder and CEO, and we're going to ask him a few questions because Box has been a company that we have been using at our company since day one, which is about 2 years ago. That they were much smaller back then, so to walk in the office, for me to walk in, it's been impressive, and want to ask him about entrepreneurship and just a few things. So
cool. Hope you like our lunchroom. This is
this is
really where we're at right now.
It's the coolest lunchroom ever. All right, cool. So Aaron, when did the idea for Box.net, like when did that hit you?
So I was in college at the time. This was 2005, and there weren't a lot of good solutions to help you share files or manage your content online. Okay. So we decided to start Box.net to make a really, really simple way that any person or business could actually take their data, put it in the cloud, and be able to access it from any device and be able to work with anyone. So this is about 5 years ago when we were kind of just running into the problem of what I think a lot of people run into of how do you share and how do you manage your data.
And you were in college at that time. Was it you and a few co-founders? How did that work out, like in terms of partners and all that?
Yeah, so it was just me and a co-founder, my co-founder Dylan, who's now our CFO of the company, and we were both in college, and we actually had grown up together from back in Seattle, and so we decided to start the company, and we were able to then bring in some other friends to kind of help us, grow it.
I heard this super cool story a few minutes ago that you guys were working and sleeping in the same place.
Yes.
And you would time on, like, tell me about that, because that was really funny.
Yeah, well, it was when we were a little bit smaller and more scrappy,
right.
and we decided that the cheapest way that we could grow the business was basically live and work out of the same place. And that would basically mean that you could work pretty effectively, like 20 hours a day. And I think it worked out because we were able to kind of work on some of the toughest problems back then and really scale out. So I don't know if I would do that today or anymore. That was somewhat uncomfortable back then, but but certainly it's an interesting way to start a company.
And when you started, what were you, as an entrepreneur? You're like, I want to start this idea. What were your first steps? Like, what did you do to get that idea from sketchbook to market to actually launch it?
Yeah, so we talked to lots of people. So I think the best advice that I have for anyone kind of that early stage of starting a company is just get your ideas out to the marketplace, whether it's potential customers or friends or family or potential businesses that would be using the product.
As a prototype, or do you like talk about it even before you launch a prototype? Or you getting
stages.
Market research? Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's sort of constant iteration of ideas and sort of continuously getting feedback into what's our business model going to be, what are we going to charge, and keep in mind this is sort of compressed in a 2-month process.
Yeah.
And then we launched after 2 to 3 months of kind of taking a lot of the ideas, a lot of the product design, and I think we got a lot of things right, but really a lot of the iteration, a lot of the work really came after we were in the market, sure. Constantly hearing feedback from customers, improving the product, and growing from there.
Cool. In terms of marketing, I wanted to ask you something, because the way you guys market is really interesting to me, because you have, on the one side, you have the no SharePoint type marketing, which is really scrappy and kind of showing but then you have choose cloud. Right. So you're pushing a movement that's larger than Box.net. And then you have this, kind of anti-movement against the established thought. What was your thought process in running those campaigns concurrently?
Yeah, I think really, I think you nailed it. We're trying to do two things at once. So on one hand, there's a lot of built up, I think, problems and issues with some of the legacy technology that we have. SharePoint in particular in our category, but there's a lot of solutions in the marketplace today that haven't been updated for many years. They're still, on premise. They're still very complicated. They're very expensive. They take a lot of time and money to maintain. And so in our particular category of sharing data and helping people work with their information, SharePoint is one of the biggest providers in that space. And so we wanted to bring a message to the market which showed. Yeah, no, thanks. We wanted to really show that there is a solution that is sort of addressing a lot of the problems and the pain points that you might have with something like SharePoint. At the same time, there's this massive movement, obviously moving to the cloud, and we want to be able to reinforce a lot of the values of that and kind of the direction of what that means and add a lot of kind of just positive reinforcement to why you would move to the cloud.
And you guys have been taking a thought leadership perspective. I mean, you guys have actually pulled in other companies that are cloud-based companies and pushing this kind of idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was an effort of a bunch of companies and a bunch of people, and I think the idea is, there's a lot of great companies in the Valley, and we're doing our best to, I think, and beyond the Valley, and we're doing our best to, I think, educate the kind of broader population and especially small businesses out there who don't have as much exposure to this technology, and really be able to address the problems and the pain points that businesses have.
Okay, and I got a couple more questions. In terms of small business, because most of the people following this trip are small businesses, entrepreneurs, startups, how do you feel Box.net empowers them? I know we use them. It helps us work from anywhere, which was a big thing for us, and expand. We have clients all over because of products like Box. Yeah. What are the stories that you're hearing from small business, and how do they use Box, and how does it empower that?
Yeah, well, so most businesses aren't doing obviously as much traveling and kind of complete mobility that you guys are going through, but a lot of times you have really kind of 2 to 3 major factors that a small business will deal with and why they come to Box. First is cost, right? You don't want to have a lot of expenses, especially under technology, right? You're really focused on whatever your core value is, and often it's not the technology that's going into your business, it's whatever service you have on top of that. So we're really inexpensive, and we scale very nicely for any size business.
We love.
Yeah, well, a lot of small businesses love it. Our sales team doesn't necessarily love it, but,
yeah, exactly.
But we find a way to balance that. So it's super easy to deploy, super quick. And the great thing is that I think everyone wants to be more mobile. We now are much more distributed, so we're working with lots of contractors and vendors and colleagues and partners that might exist anywhere in the world. Yeah. And we need to be able to centralize the information and the projects and the data that we're sharing. And Box is a solution that really helps with that. And there's a bunch of other cool products that help with sort of this idea of a geo-distributed workforce, much more mobile workplace.
Yeah. And I guess last question, as an entrepreneur, and if you were speaking to entrepreneurs, if you were going to launch a business today, what are 2 to 3 generic tips that you'd say, listen, this is something from my experience, you've had mad success, obviously, walking into your new office. Like
we're still working on all that. But
what are a couple tips that you give them?
Yeah, I think right now it's such an unbelievable time to start companies because especially in the technology space, costs have been reduced dramatically for being able to grow your business. You can be much more virtual than ever before. So I think solving really interesting problems more than ever before is an amazing opportunity. So look at what kinds of problems your fellow businesses or peers are having and try and build solutions to really enable that. I think that understanding your customer, there's really no better way to kind of become successful than building stuff that people actually want to use and being able to kind of actively reinforce that into the product by listening to people, building better services, but being able to do that in such a way where you can kind of continue a vision out towards the future. And I think really just having great ways to interface with the people that you're working with is really important.
Cool. Well, guys, it's the end of our interview. It was cool hanging out with Aaron and getting a chance to know Box and all that. So hope you guys found this useful.